Education here. This is the beat that we have for the no sample 65 BPM challenge, and I'm going to play that beat for you right now. So here we go. So that's my beat. I'm gonna break it down a little bit for you. So as you can see, I have a lot of VSTs in this track. And so what I've been doing, I actually went and bought some more RAM. And I wanted to push my RAM to see how far it could go. So I was operating on 4 GB RAM, and I went and upgraded to an 8 GB of RAM. And this beat, I specifically input as many VSTs as I would need or like, just to kind of see how far I could push it. And as you heard towards the end of the track, it started to like distort itself out and delay and lag. Now that could be because I'm using Pigments. Now Pigments is a heavy CPU VST. It takes a lot of CPU to run Pigments, and I have two Pigment tracks, like two Pigment separate actual VSTs in this same track. So intentionally, just to see how far I can push it. So I'm going to play the first Pigment sound here. So that's the first one. Now, what I did was I actually made this beat around that melody. So I had another beat, a couple beats that I made, but I liked them a lot. But something told me make another beat. I wanted to make another beat. I wanted something that was just like of the day. Like, you know, today was an interesting day and I wanted to capture the emotion of today. So I grabbed this, and what I did was I ended up just taking this same melody and putting it on a couple different VSTs. So I have Octave. That's a big producers kind of VST that came out for more so hip hop producers recently. I heard about that one on YouTube. Shameless plug. I actually bought that one. So it was a dope VST, but I don't really use it that much. But I found a sound in there that was kind of cool, and I use this sound here. So that's Octave. Octave is cool, has lots of different sounds in it. But for me, I really don't use it that much just because a lot of the sounds are very low end. And then the higher end ones, they don't really have the kind of sounds that I would be looking for, but they do have a lot of sounds. If you're looking for a sound library, I believe it was like less than $100 for the VST. So if you're looking for something cool and you have the money to spend, definitely get it because you will find something to use. But I don't use it for much for myself. I'm not really a hip hop producer. I make hip hop music, but I'm more of an R&B kind of producer. So Pigments is kind of the way to go for me. And in Pigments, you'll find lots of different sounds, lots and lots and lots of different sounds. So it has all of these categories and then all of these, you have hundreds and hundreds of sounds in Pigments, and so that's not an exaggeration either. So here I use like an accent track on this one just to kind of play off of the melody. So that's that CPU I'm talking about right there. So what I did was I also put a distortion on here. So as you can see, this Pigments one doesn't even want to play all the way through because it has a lot of CPU, but that's the accent that I put on there. Now Moto Bass, if you have ever watched the episode of ThreeBeatsLater, Moto Bass is like my bass player that lives in my computer. So I use Moto Bass, and basically I put it in perspective for the same melody, but I just lowered the octave on it. So here we are with this. So had that in there, and now I went to Labs. Now Labs is another one. It can use a lot of CPU, but it also has a lot of incredible orchestra sounds. Labs is by a company called Spitfire, and Spitfire actually makes their sounds in an orchestral studio. And there's all the sounds are live, and all of them are played by an actual orchestra. And they have a lot of free VSTs that you can, it's one VST, but a lot of free sounds you can download. It's probably about 20 free sounds you could download. You have to download the Spitfire Center to get any of them. There's a lot of free sounds, and there's no limitation to them. There's no you can only use them for a certain amount of time kind of thing. You just you own them; they're yours. So I grabbed the vocal, the choir on there, and I had them play an accent. So, and this is what Spitfire Labs looks like right here. So, it's very cool. I love it. It has a ton of sounds, and you pick the sound category you want, and then from there it opens up into the sounds that fit. So, guitar, acoustic guitar, electric guitar, vocals, tons of sounds. Check out Spitfire Labs if you're a producer. It's definitely you won't be sorry. Just make sure you have enough CPU to run it. For the drums, what I did was something real quick and simple. I just threw something I normally don't do. I actually program the drums on my keyboard with the drum rack in Ableton. So here are the drums that I used originally. So that is basically how the main, kick snare kind of thing went on the drums. So what I did was I also put in each sound set on a different pattern. On a different track. So here we are. I'll play it all together if my CPU lets me. Yeah. My CPU doesn't like this, but so yes, but that is the drum. So that's pretty much the track right there. And that's how I made the beat. Those are the VSTs that I use, how I made the pattern for the beat. Very simple beat. I honestly only played 3 different things, but I copied and pasted the melody into octave, modo bass, and I played the second Pigments, and I played the Spitfire Labs choir. So what I like to do is use the MIDI from the main melody that I create as much as possible, just so I double that sound up a little bit, make it thicker, and also make it stick in your head. So that's the main melody I want you to focus on. Everything else is just the accent for that beat. So, but that's how I made this beat, the no sample 65 BPM beat for episode 15.